Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman, in once again tonight for Richard French. We now have just 21 days left in Donald Trump's presidency, and he is spending today just like he's spent the past few weeks, tweeting nonsense and lies about the election and slashing and burning anyone who dares to either criticize him or refuses to support his crusade to overturn the election results. Meantime, the president's last-minute push to more than triple the size of the stimulus checks, that appears to be DOA in the Senate. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell pushing ahead with a proposal full of President Trump's latest demands. But the move is likely to derail Trump's own calls for $2,000 per American stimulus checks.
The Senate's not going to be bullied into rushing out more borrowed money into the hands of Democrat rich friends who don't need the help.
McConnell filing new legislation binding the boosted direct payments to two unrelated matters that Democrats are calling poison pills.
What we're seeing right now is Leader McConnell trying to kill the checks, the $2,000 checks.
McConnell's bill ensures a vote on the stimulus checks would also mean a decision on a committee to investigate election fraud and repealing protections for social media companies, all Trump demands. What's next? That's unclear after the Senate Majority Leader shot down two efforts by Democrats to vote on direct payments alone.
It's amazing to see the patience that some people have with other people suffering.
As more stimulus money stalls in Congress, the much-needed second round of relief is finally on its way to struggling Americans. The Treasury Department saying it started issuing direct deposits overnight, and starting Wednesday, paper checks are on the way.
I'm not working, and anything that is out here for us to actually get is well worth it.
Individuals who qualify should expect up to $600. The IRS adding if new legislation provides additional stimulus money, it would top the payments quickly. Senator Bernie Sanders threatening a vote on the $2,000 checks, or he says he'll hold up another priority vote to override Trump's veto of the annual defense bill.
We're in the most threatened situation we've ever been in.
Of course, the other big story in this current moment is COVID. In a few minutes, we're going to show you the latest numbers and tell you about the overwhelmed hospitals that are struggling to keep up. But in this segment, we're going to discuss the vaccine. The good news, 2 vaccines have already been approved by the FDA and more are nearing approval. The bad news, just over 2 million people have gotten the shot so far, which sounds good, but is only about 10% of what the Trump administration promised.
We plan to have enough vaccine doses available for use in the U.S. population to immunize about 20 million individuals in the month of December.
We always said the goal was by the end of December to have in the tens of millions of doses of vaccine. I've said high tens of millions.
We will deliver 100 million doses of a safe vaccine before the end of the year, maybe quite a bit sooner than that.
But only 2 million Americans have gotten the shot. Joe Biden called out the administration yesterday.
With only a few days left in December, we've only vaccinated a few million so far. And the pace of the vaccination program is moving now, if it continues to move as it is now. It's going to take years, not months, to vaccinate the American people.
Then you look to the UK, they're a step ahead of us. They just approved a vaccine developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford University, and more than 500,000 doses of that will be rolling out next week. Their health minister says, quote, "Today's news means that everyone who wants one can get a vaccine." He also says the government is standing ready to deploy the vaccine at the sort of pace that is needed to be able to help us get out of this pandemic by the spring. If only we could say the same thing here. Let's bring in our first guest to discuss, Chris Shays. Chris is a former Republican member of Congress from Connecticut. Chris, maybe this is a shame on me moment here, but just when I thought there was nothing else that Donald Trump could do to shock and surprise, it turns out we're bungling the distribution of the COVID vaccine, which to me, considering how much emphasis Trump put on the vaccine, how much he wanted it as an argument for his reelection, are you as surprised as I am that there seems to have been a bungling of the follow-through on the distribution?
Wait a second. You asked me if I'm surprised about something that Donald Trump has done. Nothing surprises me. A lot disappoints me. He's missing in action right now. He's paying no attention, and he has incompetent people that he had competent people. He replaced them with incompetent people. So it's really disaster is a strong word, but it's just inexcusable, wrong, and destructive. we had a very good plan to develop the vaccines. It exceeded our expectation. That was terrific. Then we overstated how quickly we could get it out. And not only that, and then we're failing to get it out in a way that even seems reasonable.
And part of the issue is that it seems as though he outsourced all of the decisions to the states as opposed to sort of handling it federally. Now, I was looking for parallels here. The closest I came up with was FEMA during emergencies. FEMA will provide assistance to states, but it's FEMA that moves resources into place. It's FEMA that coordinates. FEMA sends out the checks. FEMA puts people in hotels. You know, you've got some experience in terms of these votes and these systems as they were being debated through Congress. I'm wondering if we should have had a larger federal role here in the distribution.
Don't wonder. In fact, I've heard you on the program say we should. And of course we should. I mean, you know, I have a friend whose wife is Chinese. She's left her husband to go back to China so she can have a normal life where they're, yes, wearing masks in some cases, but they don't have the threat that we have. They don't have the threat in Korea. They don't have the threat in Japan. And the reason they don't have the similar threat is they dealt with it on a national basis and had unity of purpose. And we're pretty strong in their demands, and we haven't done that. Joe Biden's going to change that, and we'll get our house in order pretty quickly. But we've had close to over 340,000 deaths and climbing 100,000 since the election. I mean, if you're not angry about that, you're a very tolerant person. And this president is playing golf.
And President-elect Biden has said he'll invoke the Defense Production Act to speed up the process here. It's an act that President Trump has used sparingly. Again, maybe this is shouldn't be surprising, but that a president in the midst of all this wouldn't be doing everything in his power to try to save lives. I don't understand that decision, nor the lack of pressure from those people who might be able to apply it to him to get him to act.
You know, when we were growing up, we acted like children, and our parents, made sure that we recognized that we couldn't be children and act the way we act. He's a child, and he's so unhappy with the fact that he was fired, and for good reason, that he's focused only on that. I mean, does he care about the loss of lives? I don't think so. I mean, isn't that an amazing thing to say? My president does not care.
It's so disappointing. It's so depressing that I actually need to shift topics just to try to change the mood.
Thank you.
Joe Biden said the other day that President Trump is not cooperating, especially when it comes to national defense. You served on the Homeland Security Committee in the House. I'm not sure I can think of an action that would make us less secure. How dangerous is this lack of cooperation? And if for some reason Trump called Chris Shays out of the blue to ask what he should do in terms of cooperation on national defense with Joe Biden, what would you tell him?
Well, it's easy. Cooperate. Do everything you can to help this president succeed, which is what other presidents have done when they left office. They made sure that the best and the brightest were helping out. It became a source of national pride on their part. When I was in Congress and I was in the inaugural, I would I would walk very quickly to the other side of the Capitol to watch the new president usher the former president, now a private citizen, into a helicopter with his wife and maybe his children, and they would fly off. And it was a remarkable, moving event. And every president needs to know that that's going to happen to them. And they should do it with real class and with love for their country. And it's just not happening. I mean, in fact, the president has fired good people out of punishment and left incompetent people or people who want to be partisan or who will do just what he wants. And what he wants is no cooperation.
Chris, how dangerous is this lack of cooperation on national security issues?
Well, it's very dangerous. To describe how dangerous, I can't even begin. But when we had 9/11 take place, there were examples of our not being prepared, and transitions were not done right as well as they could be. It's just so important for there to be continuity. And our adversary, I don't want to say our enemies. I don't want to call China our enemy or Iran our enemy or Russia, but our adversaries will take advantage of the failure of the president to be as informed and his people be as well informed as they should be when they take over. They'll take advantage of the fights between Republicans and Democrats. They'll take advantage between the fights within the Democratic Party and within the Republican Party. And we need to come together for the good of everyone in our country.
Next Wednesday, the new Congress will meet to accept the results of the Electoral College. There are still efforts to try to tip the election to Donald Trump. McConnell was trying to stop senators from participating, but we got word today that Josh Hawley from Missouri, in what I assume is the first move of his 2024 presidential campaign, says he will object and force hearings in the House on January 6th. What's your message to Republican lawmakers considering joining in that? Why is it a bad idea?
Well, history will not be kind to you because future generations will look back and be astonished at the partisanship and almost the hatred that this partisanship has brought out. It's very destructive. I mean, I loved this country, and I loved the political process. And I remember what Nixon said when he lost the election, even though he thought it was stolen from him in Illinois and potentially Texas. You know what Gore did? You know what George Bush Sr. did? You know what Senator Dole did when he lost? All of them. Their love for their country came through loud and clear, and you felt a pride and a gratitude to these members who had lost and willing to support the next president. This president, our new president, will have no honeymoon thanks to Donald Trump. Donald Trump will do everything he can to destroy what Joe Biden wants to do, even if it's good for our country. And it should waken people up to the fact that they now know who Donald Trump really is.
Former Connecticut Congressman Republican Chris Shays and longtime friend of the show. Chris, thank you so much for joining us throughout all these years and through 2020. We'll see you on New Year's Day 2021.
I'll look forward to that.
Have a happy one. And up next, new information about that new strain of COVID that's been detected in Colorado. Is it our next major COVID concern?